It is Monday, the 26th of April. It was on this day in 1890 that Banjo Patterson's poem, The Man from Snowy River, first appeared in print in the Bulletin magazine. And in 1939, on this day, Robert Menzies was sworn in as Prime Minister, not with the Liberal Party, but with his minority United Australia Party government. We are today in the wake of Anzac Day. Yesterday, I made a trek to where I was born and educated, the little place of Ackland in Western Queensland, fighting for survival amongst glorious agricultural land, and the coal mining vultures New Hope want to swallow it all up. They even wanted to remove the War Memorial. They failed on that front. So we had a little service splendidly organised by Marilyn Plant. We sang, we bowed heads, and we honoured. The Culpi School students reminded us through song that the young appreciate the sacrifices of the old, and that's the encouraging thing. Elsewhere, the story bordered on disgraceful. You had WA, and over there, power's gone to McGowan's head. Borders were shut down over one confirmed coronavirus case. Can someone understand that if a government can't deal with one case of coronavirus, mild, not serious, and if you're going to shut the whole joint down, as happened, planning for an emotional weekend around Anzac Day, then Mr McGowan has merely confirmed his government with unbridled power is a government of unbridled incompetence. And my thoughts are with the businesses of Perth. No compensation. Or is McGowan going to put his hand out to the federal government, which I must say on its website says, and I quote, the federal government provides various funding, policy leadership and coordination assistance in the context of national responses to public health emergencies. So what, one case? Is this an emergency? And will they have the hide to ask for additional funding from the federal government? Why would anyone travel anywhere at the moment? Trigger happy. Premiers could shut down the joint at the drop of a hat. Come on, PM, put a stop to this. We can't go on in this staccato fashion. That's WA. Then Victoria. No community transmission across the country on Sunday, yesterday, Anzac Day. 78,000 people at the MCG to see Collingwood play Essendon. The cap was 85,000. The Shrine of Remembrance in Melbourne was surrounded by temporary fencing, barriers around the Second World War Memorial forecourt to ensure, look at those pictures, disgraceful, that only 1,400 people attended the dawn service. The vets had to have tickets scanned on a QR code. Perhaps they should have had all that at the MCG. It apparently is virus-free. So vets standing outside a fence on their day. As one vet said, had there been enough of us, we would have pushed the bloody fence over. But there weren't even enough of us on the outside to do it, he said. But in the People's Republic of Victoria, the government are in lockstep over this rubbish. The number allowed to march was increased to 8,000, 1,736 registered. So the appalling treatment of our vets continues. Best to be, I suppose, a footy player, not a returned soldier. In Sydney, with the 37,620 at the SCG to see the Roosters play the St George Illawarra Dragons, no one was counting, but the number of veterans allowed to march was originally 500. At least someone listened to the public, and the limit was increased to 10,000. The famous dawn service in Canberra limited to 4,200. So put a fence up to lock the vets out. Tell them they've got to register on a day when there is no community transmission across Australia, but go to the MCG and the SCG, where screaming fans are jumping up and down and over one another, but our veterans can't take part on their day. The decorated war hero Ben Roberts-Smith, VC, had it absolutely right when he delivered at the weekend a scathing attack on the Australian Defence Force's top brass for their, quote, disgusting, unquote, treatment of veterans and, quote, staggering lack of direction. He said, we've been let down by our own military. He said the public had learnt from the treatment of diggers returning from Vietnam, but the military chiefs had not. He said, quote, we're very lucky to have a public that is so supportive, unquote. He said many soldiers on the ground in Afghanistan were not given an explanation of the reasoning behind the 20-year conflict. And I quote him, I mean, can you imagine being a 20-year-old man and sent to war, sent to Afghanistan? You don't really know why you're there. And then your mate gets vaporised by IED, and that's an improvised explosive device, because you moved your left foot too much. You come home after not even being in a proper gunfight because you weren't allowed to get out and do your infantry job, as you're trying to do, and then you sit there wondering, what was that about? We didn't have a campaign strategy. He said, it's pretty staggering. And then he nailed it when he said, Ben Roberts-Smith, I've observed that the senior leadership of the military doesn't accurately report to government the physical position of the force elements of their units, unquote. Ben Roberts-Smith said he was very proud of every serviceman and woman who was, quote, prepared to do something bigger than themselves. But, quote, he said, every soldier was coming out of Afghanistan with some kind of physical or mental issue, unquote. Someone's got to speak up about the starched shirt brigade. Thank God for Ben Roberts-Smith. In relation to our vets, as my old man would say, we've reached the bottom of the birdcage. And you know what there is there? What do you think? Email me, alan@skynews.com.au, or the text line 0414 000 848.